What if one of the most famous motorcycle names in the world began in a small wooden shed instead of a factory? It's hard to picture the sound of a Harley Davidson engine going back to a quiet Milwaukee garden, but that's where this story starts. Before they became famous around the world, before they had tattoos and leather jackets, they only had a dream, a plan, and a lot of drive. Let us go back to 1901. William S. Harley, who was only 20, drew up a plan for a small engine that could be attached to a bike. He was very interested in the idea of motorized transportation, something small, quick, and dependable. Motorcycles were pretty rare back then. Nearly all of them were badly built, lacked strength, and were barely more than bicycles with loud engines attached to them. Harley teamed up with Arthur Davidson, a pattern maker with a mechanical mind who he had known since childhood. They all had the same big idea, to make an electric bike that didn't just run, but ruled the road. They didn't have a plant, though. They didn't have a group. They had a shed that was 10 feet by 15 feet and was tucked behind They Lived. They got to work by hand-painting Harley Davidson Motor Company above the door. They planned, welded, built, failed, and tried again. What was that first model in 1903? It couldn't get up the hills in Milwaukee. They went back to the drawing board to make changes. They made the idea better by adding a bigger engine and a stronger frame. By 1904, they had a prototype that worked. It wasn't perfect, but it did the job. It happened quickly. The word began to get around. They put their bike in a neighborhood motorcycle race that same year, and it came in fourth. Not first, but just enough to get people's attention. People saw what could happen. No longer were these just kids messing around in a shed. They were right about that. They sold their first 3 bikes that were made in 1905. After only 1 year, they built their first real plant. It was still small, only 40 feet by 60 feet, but it was the start of what Harley Davidson is today. The company was fully set up by 1907, and by 1910, there was already a lot of buzz about Harley Davidson in the motorbike world. But they were making more than just tools. They were making a revolution happen. Their bikes worked well, were strong, and were made to last. People who rode Harley Davidson started to think of freedom, excitement, and the open road when they saw one. And when the United States joined World War I, they paid attention and ordered thousands of Harley bikes for dispatch workers. Then everything changed. The war gave Harley Davidson a lot of attention and respect. It made more motorcycles than any other company in the world by the end of the 1910s, but the business never forgot where it came from. They told the story of that small wooden shed where 2 friends were brave enough to turn a crazy idea into a roaring machine, even as they grew to include huge factories and markets around the world. But most people miss this part. Harley Davidson didn't just stay in business by coming up with new ideas. It did very well because of its brand. They knew that a Harley wasn't just a way to get around. It was a sentence, something, a way of life. That's why Harley Davidson has one of the most loyal fan bases in the world, even after more than 100 years. On 2 wheels, it's more than just metal and chrome. It's history, defiance, and American grit. And to think it all began in a shed in the garden. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.